Part 3. Why is idolatry so important in the Bible? Idolatry is something that is quite a big problem throughout biblical times, but in order to get an understanding of why this might have been such an issue, we need to start to look and to get into exactly what idolatry means to its followers. Idolatry was used so that people could feel in control of something greater than themselves. For example, if someone could, quote, find some kind of force to be able to control something in nature, like rain, that person could then build a temple towards and for that newfound fake god. They could also go as far as offering sacrifices in order to please and to persuade that fake god to get whatever result they wanted, like in this case rain. However, it didn't stop there. Some would even go as far as making talismans and other little trinkets to offer protection, and other household small idols were placed around in order to try and to bring extra blessings on that house and their family. These fake gods, or forces of nature more accurately, were usually considered to be very emotional and unpredictable. So in order for people to be able to get more of a sense of control and security through these events, they would start to use different rituals, charms, and whatever means and forms of worship that they could think of towards them. Back in these biblical times, there was a lot of things that people didn't know and didn't understand. This kind of fear and uncertainty increased the probability or made it easier for them to become more susceptible towards these forms of idolatry, which is why this is such a big problem that God not only addresses with the Israelites, but then continues to address with them over and over again. But why are these first two commandments that we have looked at seem pretty similar to each other? This way God was able to drive to them the point of them needing to be strong and to not fall into this idolatry. We probably will never know exactly why the Israelites kept falling into this idol worship that we read about in the Old Testament. Whether it is the idea or illusion of control, maybe it was something like being able to not have to dedicate their life to God, but instead of wanting a physical God to give a sacrifice to. We probably will never know the true reason. However, for some people, the temptation was there just by pure pressure from others. In 1 Kings chapter 11, verse 4, in this verse here, we are able to see that even a man like Solomon still faced these issues of other gods. This issue came from his wives. They were the ones that had started to corrupt his relationship with God. Idolatry is a form of stealing, not the kind of stealing like taking something in a store without paying. This form of stealing here is worse, because it takes all the glory, all the honor, respect, and reverence that the one true God deserves, and taking that away from him and giving it to someone or something else instead. For example, it would be like if you cleaned the house as a kid, but when your parents were thankful for that, they instead thanked and believed that it was the dog or someone else that did it. This is how it looks whenever we take all of God's works and creations and instead worship an idol. This would make us angry or jealous if it ever happened to us. This is why we can see a lot of different verses that talk about how whenever idol worship happens, that God is angry, like over in Exodus chapter 32 verse 7. And also other verses that talk about how our God is a jealous God, like in Exodus chapter 20 verse 5. God acknowledges that there are going to be those that will stray and follow after other fake gods. However, we can see verses like Deuteronomy chapter 6 verse 4 that specifically talk about how the Israelites needed to hear this message, that the Lord our God is that one Lord. It didn't say that he wasn't the true Lord, or even he is one of the gods. No. Instead, it makes it clear in the writing of this verse that he is the one and he is the only. There are other verses that we can find that talk about the same thing, Like over in Revelations chapter 22 verse 13. In this verse it covers that He is the best, He is the start, the end, He is the first and the last. All this just means that He covers over everything. There is no one else that will be with Him.